What is your full name and where were you born?
My name is Rafael Vinicio Ortiz III, and I was born in Waterbury, Connecticut, St. Mary's Hospital. All of them. I've been all over. I've been to, I was in the Bunker Hill area. Also, I lived up in the Brooklyn area and off of East Main as well. I was really raised on East Main Street, across from the police station.
Okay, what was the house like when you were growing up?
It was an apartment complex that no longer exists. It was directly across from the police station, right next to Bergen Funeral Home. It's a parking lot now.
Place of birth to your current town?
Well, I was born here in Waterbury, but I've also traveled to Puerto Rico, where my mother is from. Haven't been to Dominican Republic yet, but Waterbury is very fast-paced, and it could be slow-paced, so it's a lot going on. It's bigger than most towns, smaller than a big city, so fifth largest city in Connecticut.
For work?
Well, my mom is from Puerto Rico. She's from Guanica, Puerto Rico. My dad is from Santo Domingo, Dominican Republic. And my dad was in the military for 32 years. He's retired now and lives in Dominican Republic. My mom came over and was working in factories, and now she helps the elderly, and she got a couple jobs. So.
What factories did she work in?
She worked in Bendix. That was the one that I remember the most, Bendix, but there was others, but I think Timex was one. But again, I was younger when that happened.
Well,
but see, here's the thing. Puerto Rican and Dominican have Spanish, but they're different dialects. So when I was with my Puerto Rican family, they would laugh at how much I spoke like a Dominican, and vice versa when I was with my Dominican family.
Matt, can you give me?
How many siblings do you have, and what was it like growing up with them?
I had my sister. She's older than me, my younger brother, and I have another brother as well. So 2 brothers, 1 sister. And growing up with them, it was fun. I'm a clown, so I harassed them a lot, prankster type thing. So it was good. I was kind of the middle child or the baby, depending on who you ask.
Did you have any hobbies or interests? If so, what were they?
Yes, I grew up and I used to wear Army uniforms before I even went in. I wanted to be like my dad, you know, G.I. Joe all the way. And football and basketball, those were my things. Well, I went to Maloney School. That's where I first remember. I went to Maloney School. I also went to Driggs, Bunker Hill School. I went to West Side, and I graduated from West Side Middle School, and I graduated from Kennedy High School here in Waterbury.
Did you have a favorite, and if so, why?
Well, I think my favorite has to be Kennedy, because that's when, you know, you start understanding things better and you start having more friends and more freedom based on your age.
What were some of the most positive things about living in Waterbury?
Everybody knows everybody. It was really good. It was like a family atmosphere where I lived. You know, like people would let my parents know if I was up to no good, and my parents would let other parents know. So it was a really tight-knit area.
Were some of these surrounding families, were they Puerto Rican and Dominican as well?
Yes. Mm-hmm. A lot of times our families lived by each other. Crime. There's been crime. There's been like even growing up, I've been in stores where, you know, you get followed by the store clerks or whatnot, just based off of what we look like and, you know, that type of thing. But other than that.
Or family traditions from Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic?
I think my parents are completely cultural. So every time we have dinner, yes, there's totones, there's pernil, there's arroz con gandules, there's all different types of stuff. To me, that's culture. Plantains are always involved, so it's a good thing.
If so, how did you meet your spouse?
No, I am not. Thank you for asking that and making me feel really small.
Interest in the military and why?
Well, that goes back to earlier. I developed interest in the military because my dad was always in it. You know, he was always going away for training or whatnot, and then he'd come back with his uniform, and then just to be part of people that secure the normal civilians. That was something that I always aspired to. You know, when you look at heroes, you look at people that served, and that was a big thing for me.
Responsibilities.
He started off in the Army. He went in when he was 17, and then he ended up going into the National Guard. And then I myself, he talked me into going to the Air Force. So, and I went in when I was 17 too.
Leading to your enlistment?
Well, I'll tell you how it began. I graduated when I was 17 years old in June, and I was getting in a little trouble, you know, a lot of freedom, no school, no structure, no nothing. So by that same year, October 1st, I was in basic training. So it was a matter of getting away from trouble and whatnot.
The reactions from friends and family upon learning about your enlistment?
They were surprised. My family, not so much, because they always knew that was my thing. Like Halloween, I was always an Army guy, you know, but my friends were surprised because nobody else was going to the military but me. And it was so sudden. June, you graduate, October, you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
What was your basic training like?
It was a wake-up call, you know, because regardless of how strict my mom was, I had freedom. I can go to sleep and wake up when I wanted to. You know, I can go outside the door, I can look out the window. You go to basic training, everything is shut down, and they basically strip you down and build you back up. So it was a wake-up call, but I wouldn't change that for the world. It was something that it gave you a sense of accomplishment when you finished. You know, like, you did this, not too many people do this, or even risk doing this. So.
How long is basic training and where was it?
Basic training was 6 weeks, and I was in San Antonio Air Force, San Antonio, and it was San Antonio Air Force Base, Lackland Air Force Base, I'm sorry.
Can you describe your active duty? What tours did you do and when did they occur?
Yep, I was in from 96 to 99, and I did a tour over to Prince Sultan Air Base for 4 months. That was Operation Desert Storm, Operation Southern Watch. That was when we were monitoring the no-fly zone with Saddam Hussein after the first Iraq War. So this was in 98, I'm sorry, and we were there for 4 months in tents.
What rank did you hold and what were some of your responsibilities?
I got up to E3, and basically my responsibility was I was a special response team leader. And what we would do is we would patrol the flight lines and make sure no unauthorized individuals were coming in and whatnot. And we also perform law enforcement duties on the base as well.
Have any effect on you personally, given your recent military experience in the late 90s?
It did, and it did for so many reasons, because when it happened, my son was just born. And I was just fresh out of the military as well, so I felt like I should be doing something. And another thing is, when we were in Saudi Arabia, we were briefed on the possibility of Osama bin Laden, because if you look back, you have the bombing of Riyadh, which was on an air base in Saudi Arabia, which was orchestrated by him as well. So that was one of the things that they told us about, like, be on the lookout for a U-Haul truck. So when the towers went down, you know, my first thought was him. And then to find out that it was accurate, it really was like, wow, I wish I can do more.
Did you have any urge to go back into the military after that, after seeing the tragedy?
Definitely. To say that I didn't would be totally wrong, but my first thing was, if they're hitting us at home, I'd rather be home to protect my family.
Can you describe some of the friendships that you made in the military?
Yes. They were awesome. Those are people that basically, in the military is different. You see, when you're here, you have friends, and your friends are amicable. They come to your house and do all this stuff. But when you're in the military, like, these friends helps keep you alive, and vice versa. So you guys depend on each other for a lot, you know, everything. Even for TDY, which is temporary duty, when you're preparing to go away, they can take care of your situations at home, you know, or, you know, somebody to talk to while you're away that's going through the same thing as you. Because you got to remember, a lot of those people overseas are 17, 18, 19 years old, 20 years old. And a lot of them, like myself, I'd never left the country, let alone been far from the state, so to go somewhere like Saudi Arabia and be there, sometimes you need people to talk to be able to relate to that. Definitely Facebook, social media is awesome to follow them, because I met people from Spain, I met people from Texas, California, Hawaii. There was a lot of, in basic, a lot of people from Hawaii. So there was people from all over the globe, and to me it opened up a whole new world for me, whereas if you stay in Waterbury, all you know is Waterbury and the local parts that you travel to. Here I actually lived all over the country, from living in South Carolina to Texas to Florida and Saudi Arabia.
Your experiences in the military?
It did. It woke up my eyes, because I seen how we look to a lot of different people. See, when down south, a lot of the Hispanics down there are Mexican, so right away you're Mexican, so you deal with a little bit of racism down there and whatnot, and the talk of just, stereotyping you with everybody else, whereas up here, everybody's Puerto Rican or Dominican, so it was a wake-up call for me to see, what they thought of us down there.
What were some of the racist encounters that you had down there?
When I was in Shaw Air Force Base as a security force member, I was the only Hispanic there, other than another one from New Britain, Connecticut, who was on K-9. So it was different, like I'm the only one listening to Spanish music. I'm the only one that knows what an empanada tastes like. I'm the only one. So a lot of those things you can't relate to somebody that hasn't had those things, and then when you talk about Spanish food, they're like, oh, enchilada, and you're like, no, so that was different.
Shaped your sense of national identity?
My enrollment in the military was the best thing I could have ever done. No matter if it would have ended up bad, if it would have ended up good, it wouldn't have mattered. I've been around the world, I've seen so many people, the culture, the understanding of what military service members do and what civilians are, no knock on either, but as a service member, you go and you do what you're told to protect the civilians. And a lot of times the civilians don't see that aspect of it. So to be able to see both sides, I think that was one of the biggest things by joining the military.
In what ways did your involvement in the military shape your current occupation?
It didn't. I'm sorry. It didn't. As I stated, I was a cop, basically. I was a security force member, and I came back. And now what it did do is help me relate to people from all over, to better understand, because we get a lot of migrants here from anywhere, from down south, from, Ecuador, from South Carolina, North Carolina, all the way to the West Coast and whatnot. So to be able to talk to them, with an open mind and understand these different cultures has been beneficial for me, being an assistant manager at the bank, to be able to relate to so many different people.
Benefits programs that the government has?
I do. I don't need it, so I don't want to take advantage of it. But I have health care through them. But other stuff, like I said, there's more individuals that have done way more than me that are the real heroes, and they're the ones that basically should be taking as many benefits and utilizing those things. For me to use it on my own, I don't need that right now, so I'd rather have those funds go to veterans that need that.
If you go back in time, what advice would you give yourself prior to enlisting?
I would say still do it, but be patient. When I was younger, I wasn't really patient. A lot of times I got frustrated and wanted to do things my way. But it helped me grow and be a man that I am today. And to be able to have my son think of me as a role model, I think that was very beneficial. And a lot of things that I learned around the way, whether good or bad, molded me to who I am today. And they really helped me with life, period.
Would you like to see your son enlist in the military?
If that's what he wants to do, I'll support anything he wants to do. And I would walk with him and talk to him. I remember when I was in basic, my first call that I made 2 weeks later, I'm waiting in line to make these phone calls, and you see everybody taking a phone call and they're leaving crying, and I'm like, I'm not gonna be that guy. And as soon as I called, I heard my dad's voice, and I turned into a baby, and I was just like everybody else. So it's a wake-up call, but it makes you grow as a person. So I definitely, if he wanted to do that, I'd be right with him every step of the way.
Thank you very much, Rafael. I
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
Anytime.